You with Alexis Demetriades, KSI's trainer. How you doing, Alexis?
Yeah, feeling really good after Saturday night.
I mean, I would be if I was KSI's trainer as well in that sense. I know you don't really do interviews, so I'm going to put you on the spot and ask why you took this one on.
Yeah, I think that, I like to let the fighters do the talking and the fights do the talking and the performers do the talking. But I think there's a bit of controversy in this one. And I think that it's not just to a boxing audience who are quite familiar with these sort of situations, and they happen quite often. So I think that making sure we speak about it, making everyone understand everyone's issues and the points, I think it was important to address them, as well as I think maybe just address a few of my actions as well.
When you say controversy, is there anything you want to get off your chest?
No, I just think, it's just silly things that the opponent was saying about how, JJ was an intentional elbow and these sort of things. I mean, these sort of things are ridiculous. You've got a referee in there and 3 judges who are British Border Control referee and judges. You've got Ian Francis. The guys in there have seen thousands and thousands of fights in their time, and they're not just qualified; they're the most qualified people in the industry of boxing, and none of them saw an elbow at the time. We didn't see the elbow at the time either.
I was ringside. I didn't see it. I had to look back on the monitor.
Didn't see it at all. I mean, and so when you say someone's cheating, that's an intentional thing, and that's something that it's character defamation. It's something that we as sportsmen, as athletes, as competitors, none of us take that lightly. So that's something that I wanted to address. It's not something we would condone, we would do, or that we want to be part of, and it's not something that JJ would ever do. It is characteristics. And also, just so we're clear, watching that fight, he was breezing that fight. He was winning that fight easily. So to suggest someone's cheating, you'd normally do that on the latter end of it. I mean, I've seen people cheat when they're losing, but I've never seen a winner cheat, which is strange. So that's another thing. But I guess we'll get to that. We'll get to the punch in a minute.
Yeah, Joe Fournier has launched a complaint. He's probably going to go after the decision and try and get it revoked, overturned, ruled a no contest or a DQ. Do you think that's likely? And do you think a rematch is likely at all?
Yeah, I mean, we are governed. We are governed by the governing body. So, I have no issue with what the ruling on the result is. Just so we're clear, all the officials around the ringside and all of us didn't see anything but a punch. So that's why it was allowed to continue. On reflection, you see a punch connect and a follow-through punch. So you hit a shot, you hit a target, and you follow through. You're always supposed to follow through on a punch because you can't hit a shot and pull away. There's no power in it, so you have to follow through. He got clipped with the punch, fell forward and got hit with the forearm and maybe the elbow, but it was a big forearm shot, 100%. There's no doubt that there was a connection. That's happened thousands of times in boxing. It's happened with headbutts, it's happened with forearms, it's happened with elbows, it's happened with shoulders. It's just quite a common thing. I mean, it happened last month with Eubank Jr. and Smith. It happens. It's unfortunate, and nobody wants to be part of that. And it's not something that we want to be part of. And it takes away, it diminishes some of the hard work and and that one KO that we all and JJ really wanted. So definitely, I can understand that he's appealing it, but I guess the questions are: would it have changed the fight? I don't think so. He got punched with a shot. He was falling down. He'd already dropped in that fight before. He'd already got hit with an overhand right. We were winning on the scorecards. So is it going to change the fight? No. Do you want to know contest? If that's what they rule, then that's what they rule. Rematch-wise, I'm more than happy to have a rematch. Is it necessary is probably the question. And I guess the second question from the promotion point of view, which has nothing to do with me, do people want to pay to see it? Because if you'd like to pay me to have that fight again, I would have that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. If you want to pay me to have that fight again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to be financially viable for everyone. But yeah, whatever the board of control wants to do, I'm happy to.
Yeah, it might be something that you're forced into taking on if they rule that way. But certainly, KSI was in control of that fight, and he was pretty dominant. Were you happy with his performance on Saturday?
Yeah, I think people forget. His fights have been really quick, and everyone's like, we want to see more of him. See more of him. The kid's got a lot of power in his hands. So when guys have got a lot of power, and fights don't last long. I mean, it's a fun thing to do, but everyone wants to see it. Yeah, but you have to take that. You have to be able to take that shot. And I think after the first right hand, Joe just looked shaky and just kind of like completely taken aback. He looked rattled from the shot, and then he was defensive the whole time. So it was just one-way traffic. I was happy with the performance. I thought JJ improved a lot, but I also thought he was fighting an opponent that, to be fair, we thought was going to pose a lot more danger, and actually didn't.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that way from watching it ringside. If the appeal gets thrown out, it looks like Tommy Fury's going to be next up. What threat does that pose? Because Tommy Fury is dispatched with all of his opponents previously. I think he's a step above all the opponents that KSI has come up against so far. So how do you think about KSI stepping in there with Tommy?
Yeah, I definitely think he's a formidable opponent. As Joe Fournier was 9-0 and Tommy's 9-0, I think as well. Obviously, they're a different type of 9-0. Not on records. The records are still mixed with the same kind of people, the same kind of journeyman. But Tommy can box. He can definitely box better than that. You know, we thought Joe was going to have more to his game. He didn't. But Tommy puts punches together. He doesn't throw singles. He's got a really, really stiff jab. Comes from a great family, good boxing minds. Obviously, very big in shape. I think that he's definitely going to be a problem. But I think stylistically that KSI has the right style to beat Tommy Fury.
Does he have a style that's better suited than Jake Paul?
Yeah, I think you've got to remember. I think sometimes boxing a boxer's not the right way around. But let's be fair with KSI. He hasn't had a boxing pedigree. He hasn't had amateur fights. He hasn't had amateur experience. He hasn't boxed as a kid. He hasn't had any into clubs, any bouts, he doesn't have that experience. So to suggest that we're going to sit there behind a double guard and pick for punch and outbox Tommy Fury is ludicrous. What KSI does have is a ridiculous amount of power in both hands. What he does have is an unorthodox style that we don't want to correct too much. And people will say, but he's unsafe. He is unsafe, but he's also dangerous. So we have a dilemma as a coach, or as a coaching staff. Do we make him safer and less dangerous, or do we keep him slightly rawer and more dangerous? And I feel that the latter is better. I feel that keeping him dangerous is what's going to get him knockouts and win him fights. And stylistically, it's what he's suited to, rather than tightening him up and making him a real tight, bouncy amateur boxer, you know, with a jab that comes back on the right hand and stays up here. I feel those shots are they're obvious when they come. And we don't have the time to beat Tommy Fury using that kind of style.
I think Andy Joshua's gone down that path, and it's cost him.
I think when you have, I coached Derek Chisora for Usyk, who, in my opinion, did 1,000 times better.
There was only 115, 113 against Usyk.
I think if AJ boxed like we did, he won that fight. The judges just didn't like us that night. I thought we boxed. Anyway, different story. But I think when it comes down to coaching staff, the problem is there's an arrogance and there's an ignorance and there's a paycheck involved. And you're like, you got to keep your hands up. You got to keep him safe. You know, listen. If my fighter, if it's the 11th or 12th round and my fighter's losing, he can put his hands down to his legs and he can throw as much power as he wants and try and get rid of that guy, because we're losing that fight anyway. We've got to throw the kitchen sink. In AJ's fight, he was told to keep his hands up nice and sharp and keep pumping the jab in the 12th round. You're like, bro, you're down. Like, you've got to go for broke. There's got to be a time where it doesn't matter how you lose. And this is the difference. And I think that's where the arrogance comes in. If he just loses nicely, we can get a rematch. No, that's not competitive fighting. That's business. A competitive fight is, I'm going to get you no matter what. And if I get got, so be it. But I have to put you in danger. That's what fighting's about, and that's why people pay to see it.
It's an interesting one. I think KSI Tommy will be probably one of the biggest fights commercially that we've probably ever seen in the UK if it does happen. And it's looking likely. And I think, that'll be an occasion, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, you've always got the Jake Paul fight. Like I said, we as a team, we're quite shocked that Jake didn't take the rematch against Tommy. So we didn't understand why that didn't happen. And then we offered him a fight date in December, which he turned down.
Jake. Yeah.
December, which he turned down. So I guess you're pursuing somebody that maybe has their own path. So we have to then make our own path and not rely on that one fight. But I think going to the guy that beat Jake with Tommy Fury, it's a task. I think we're more than capable of it, and I think JJ stylistically is more than capable of it, but it's an insanely hard fight. For a guy who was sitting on his couch, doing YouTube videos, to getting in an arena in a $100 million fight, trying to beat a Fury, that's pretty much a bit of a task.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about Jake Paul, because Kisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was saying that they're looking at the KSI fight now in 2024.
Yeah, do you know
what about that?
No, for me, I don't have any say in when these fights happen. Obviously, if he's ready, he's fighting. If he's not fighting. That's my job, is to get him ready for a fight. If he's not ready, I'll pull him out of a fight. If I don't think we can win a fight, I won't sign a fight. So that's my job. I guess the logistics of it and the money side of it is above my paycheck. I don't get involved in any of that sort of stuff. It's not for me to to decide.
One final one from me as well. What did you make of being amongst the carnage on Saturday? Because I was backstage when Bugsy Malone was kicking off with a TikTok. I know Tommy Fury and Idris Virgil got into a scrap. Isaac Lowe, one of Tyson Fury's sparring partners, got into a scrap with Dillian White's brother on the side of the ring I was sitting on. It was all a bit like in a bit of a whirlwind, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think with these situations is, you got to remember these things are based on views, right? These fights are based on views. They're based on clout. They're based on people who have followers that want to see them perform, fight, sing a song, sell a music video, whatever they want to do, or do a TikTok or whatever it is. So I guess everyone's on point with the cameras and with their attitudes and stuff. But for us, for me personally, it was slightly it's the same emotion I have with all fights, but there's a personal tinge to it for me, in that when somebody says I'm going to kill your guy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, it rouses you as a man. It wouldn't. You'd be lying if you said it didn't. And I was just so happy for JJ to have won the fight in the manner that he did. It was just unfortunate on the replay. You saw the follow through after the connection, and it wasn't as clean as we wanted it.
I think he's a bit upset with that as well. He said on social he's not happy.
Yeah, I mean, you've been around. These guys work so hard. This kid does not have to be here at 6 a.m. on a Monday, redlining, literally dying in here, or getting his face broken, or getting his hands broken, which he has done. He doesn't need to be here doing that. Kid's got a lot of money, and he doesn't need to be doing any of this. He's doing it for a passion and a legacy. So I respect him greatly, and I hope everyone else does. And he puts everything into it. So for it to be slightly diminished, I feel real bad for him, and for all the coaching staff here as well, because we put a lot into it.
I'll let you crack on with your class, because there's a couple of people here that probably put me in a headlock if I kept you for any longer. But I appreciate you putting the time away to give us a rare interview. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.